Understand what a web API is and learn how to use the browser's built-in geolocation API to securely fetch a device physical coordinates. In this example, we are going to be looking at the geolocation API. That is a browser's built-in API that can help us securely fetch the device physical coordinates, its longitude and latitude. So let me just give this short illustration to demonstrate what an API is. And by the way, what exactly is the meaning of an API? API simply means application programming interface. So just let's use this illustration to explain it. Let's assume you go to a restaurant and you meet with a waiter in the restaurant. Now, you as a guest in that restaurant, you don't need to know how to cook the food or manage the kitchen. Your own is that you just look at the menu that is given to you by the waiter, and then you tell the waiter what you want, and the waiter just handles the complex backend details to cook and bring you the food that you order from the menu. So that exactly is how this API of the thing works. So a browser web API, on the other hand, is just an interface built right into your browser. So it gives you a JavaScript superpower in order to interact with the physical world or complex systems. For example, say a tracking device location, accessing a webcam on your device, tracking battery level, using simple ready-made code commands that are already built in into your browser. So now let's look at an example that just demonstrates how you can use this geolocation API. So let's move into my script section. So we are already in the script section, and let's make a simple variable. Let's call it X and say and use document.get element by ID demo1. So now that's the variable. Now let's make a function to get location. So let's just use that name for the function name, get location. And inside this function, we want to use a try catch method. So we want to use a try catch method uh in this particular function that we're making. So let's move on. And inside this try part, so we'll call all these navigator objects and call navigator object and call the geolocation method alongside it to get our current position. You can see all these things are in the browser. I'm not just making them from scratch. So position. Then I will move into the catch part, try catch part. That is, if it cannot find any location, then whatever that is discovered, whether an error or whatever, should be inside this catch part. So let's call that our variable that we made earlier, inner.html, and store our error inside it. So now that we have this, let's go now and make another function that will be this show position. So that's the name of the function that we're going to be making. So and it is going to take a parameter of position, as you can see. And so we can just call this part to be latitude. This is just a string. Then plus position dot coordinates dot latitude plus, I want to add a break, longitude plus position dot coordinates. longitude. And right now, you are not going to see anything on the screen. So let's make a way in order to be able to see this on the screen. So let's come here and let me use them instead. So let me come here and make a simple button. And let me just call this, let me just give this button a simple text. Try it. So this button, let me give it an ID. An ID of BTN. So it can look more beautiful. And then I want to add an on-click property to it. And that on-click property is going to call our function get location. And so let's go ahead and click on this button and see what is going to happen. And now you can see allow 127.0.0.1:5501 to access your location. I hope you can see what I have on the screen. So if I click on allow, now you can see that my map is turned on. You have granted this website additional permission. You can see my latitude and my longitude. I hope you can see this clearly on the screen. So in this example, shows that when you click on the button, so what JavaScript does is that it reaches out to the browser's native geolocation hardware tool. So the browser handles the complex task of calculating your location via the GPS, cellular towers, or Wi-Fi network, because I'm currently connected to a Wi-Fi. And so once it gets those information, it then returns your latitude and longitude coordinates to be displayed on the screen. And that is the reason why you are seeing this displaying on the screen. So the browser APIs are ready to use too that are built directly into the client's web browser application. So you don't need to install external packages to use them because they are already built in. And we also have servers API that runs on distant web server that you request data from over the internet. For example, if you're asking from Google Map for direction or asking a weather information from for maybe today or tomorrow's forecast from a weather system. So this is how the geolocation API works. They are built in tools directly into the client web browser application. Here are key takeaways from this lesson. Number one, Web API extend what JavaScript can achieve by providing pre-built methods for complex operations. Number two, hardware-based web API like geolocations always require explicit user consent via a browser pop-up before sharing sensitive information. You discover that before I allow this, for example, look at it. This is allowed temporarily. If I don't want it again, I can close it and then the permission will be denied. So if I refresh the page, then it will pop it up. Once I click the button, then it will pop this up again. And lastly, the location object will return contain other optional tracking data parameters too, such as our position, course, dot accuracy, altitude, and speed for if you are traveling.